How do you become a leading expert in your field? For us, how do you become a leading expert, a national authority in mortgage or real estate? Become the person that other people seek you out for your knowledge and your wisdom. Here's what Earl Nightingale said. He said, 1 hour per day of study in your chosen field is all it takes. 1 hour per day of study will put you at the top of your field within 3 years. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority, and in 7 years, you could be one of the best people in the world at what you do. And so he suggests it just starts with 1 hour a day. And personally, I read that quote when I was in college, but I really took it seriously when I graduated from college and I started working. And I certainly have taken it seriously in my mortgage career because I've really built my career on that philosophy of studying every day to try to become more valuable, first to my clients and then to my coworkers and my company. So people ask me a lot, what do I read? How do I stay informed? What is my content consumption strategy? And here's what it is. I'll share it with you guys. I spend roughly 3 hours a day studying, consuming content. And how it breaks down is, I spend an hour when I first get up. I get up around 4 o'clock every morning, and I spend an hour reading articles, newsletters, and reports. And then when I go for an exercise, I do about 2 hours of road work every day, walking, running, or hiking. And during those 2 hours of road work, I listen to books or podcasts. And then finally, after my workout, when I'm cooling down, I go back to reading articles, newsletters, and reports for about a half an hour. And so that's how I get my 3.5 hours a day, which is, if you talk about win by 7, win by noon, I can win by 7 or win by 8 because by 8, I've already consumed over 3 hours of content. And it hasn't at all impacted my productivity for the day because my day is just starting. I have 3 hours. And I feel so good when I do that, and I feel fired up and ready to go. And I encourage you to do the same. I encourage at least doing an hour of study every day. So the question is, and I talked about this yesterday in my video yesterday. Yesterday I talked about the books that I read in the last year. I read a book every week, and I did a book review, a video every Sunday on the book I read that week, and I did it for a little over a year. And so yesterday I talked about the value of reading books and how books really help you gain knowledge and wisdom. And then I give you my top 10 books that I liked from last year. So if that interests you, go check out my video from yesterday. But here's the thing. There's a competition for the type of content that you can consume, right? And I put it in 3 buckets. Articles, newsletters, and reports is one bucket. Podcasts is a second bucket. And then reading or listening books is the third bucket. And each of those, in my mind, are quite different. And so you have to pick what your, how you weight each of those. For me, I spend about 14 hours a week on articles and newsletters and reports, about 8 hours in podcasts and 4 hours in books. And if you listened to my video yesterday, now I'm going to stop doing a weekly book review because that was taking about 10 hours a week. And what that was doing is it was reducing the amount of podcasts that I can consume and reducing the amount of articles, newsletters, and reports I consume. So now I'm going to do once a month so I can create more capacity to do those other things. Now, reading a book a week was extremely valuable because I gained a whole bunch of knowledge and wisdom that I didn't have before. And I read books that I wouldn't have read because I had to read one every single week. But it came at the cost of not being able to watch as many valuable podcasts. And today there are fantastic podcasts. I mean, heck, you can become a top leading mortgage professional just by watching Dave Savage's mortgage coach, content. And of course, First on My Queue or whoever you listen to, whether it's, even Darren Daly's daily, Darren's daily or Ed Milo, I don't care, or whoever you listen to, it doesn't matter, whatever your interest, but that's a legitimate form of content. And I think you need to do a mix of every one. What I want to do today, though, I want to talk specifically about what articles I read, how come I read them, what my reading list is, and then give you a recommendation of maybe just some foundational articles that you may want to read. So I'm going to show you my reading list here. 1 second. I'm going to show you my reading list. It's right here. I'm going to share my screen. And so this is my reading list. And here's what happened, by the way. when you start subscribing to things, it's so interesting because you bump into more and more stuff that you're constantly subscribing to new stuff. And what you'll see in my list of my daily subscriptions of newsletters, articles, publications, reports, grew well over 150 things in my inbox almost every single day. And that became unmanageable. That amount of reading just from newsletters, articles, and reports would take about 4.5 hours a day. And so recently, this past week, I had to trim my list down from what you see on this list is I think 123 down to 70. And I really need to get it down to 50. 50 great sources will take me about 2 hours a day to consume and actually implement an action plan from. So I have it broken down on all sorts of types. I have a whole bunch of finance. I have a little bit of politics as it relates to economics, marketing type of stuff. So, and then, a lot of real estate. I'm a big fan of Altos Research. A few economic and finance, which is really good. If you look at the big chunks, I subscribe to Bloomberg. I subscribe to Wall Street Journal, all for basic news. You can also add Axios to that as just basic news. And then I have a bunch of specialty newsletters like Calculated Risk and Chartbook Charter, Darren Hardy's Daily, Dividend Cafe, which is an investment, EOS, Business Strategies, First on My Queue. I get all their stuff stuff every week, including their podcast. Gary Acosta, who I love from NARAP and Hispanic Wealth Project. I watch now. He does that in video form. It used to be all in written form. Grit, which recently changed the format of their newsletter. It used to be kind of more macroeconomics. Now it's more investment, so I just unsubscribed. Housing Wire, I subscribe to the 4 things listed on the sheet. Lending Life, Housing Wire Daily, Breaking News, and Data Digest. Hunter Macworth, by the way, if you were just going to read one thing to feed your soul every week, read Hunter's weekly newsletter. It comes out on Sunday. Fantastic. It only takes a couple minutes to read. It's probably some of the best stuff I read. Hunter, great job. Congratulations on that. Inman, I get the full spectrum of Inman news. Jefferson Fisher, which is great. Jeremy Minor, Jeremy Ney. Kiplinger's. Now, I'll tell you, I get all of Kiplinger's stuff, and I just unsubscribe to it all because while it's interesting, it wasn't the best news that I was getting, and it was had a lot of advertisements on it, so that didn't make the cut. If you're looking at these columns, by the way, the column with D's and W's is how is it daily or weekly. The column E here is it paid or free. So I have the name of the publication, the frequency, if it's paid or free. You can see a lot of it's free, a lot of it's paid. So you can pick between free and paid on that type of stuff. Now, of course, Kyle Draper, Levi's Mortgage Museum, which I love that. It's weekly. LinkedIn. I also subscribe to a whole bunch of people who distribute over LinkedIn now. As you can see, Brian Covey, and then Brian and Joe Zongdale, Michael Kramer, Ed Yardini, Kelly Yale, Craig Davis, Ray Dalio, and Sherry Wynn. All great stuff. I've been a subscriber to everything Malden Economics. I'm part of their I can't remember what it is, whatever their elite group is. So I get, I think, 13 publications from them. I honestly, I'm religious about reading Over My Shoulder and Thoughts from the Front Line. I've been pretty aggressive. The other two ones are Macro Advantage and Transformational Age. Those are all really good. I think any mortgage professional should read Thoughts from Front Line. That should be one of the first things you read. Over My Shoulder, I think it's $80 a year, and you get 2 or 3 times a week, you get articles that stand out to John Malden. I love that. I subscribe to the free MBA, and that means I get their forecast. I get Mike Frantantoni's weekly chart of the week. And if you can afford it, I do not pay for MBS News right now, which is a fantastic daily distribution. Mike Del Prete, I think he does some of the best real estate writing. I have on my reading list a whole bunch of stuff on AI and technologies come in, like Mindstream and Mind Valley. Those are 2 really good publications. The Modern Mortgage IQ, that's a new product coming out from mortgage coach Dave Savage, as well as First Home IQ. That is fantastic. Mortgage News Daily, I think that's another critical newsletter. It might be one of the best newsletters. Mortgage Nuggets, which is a very simple, easy to digest, comes out 3 times a week. I think great. Of course, the National Association of Home Builders, NAREP, Hispanic Wealth Project, National Association of Mortgage Brokers, National Mortgage News. I get the New York Times. I get the morning newsletter. It's free. And it's pretty good. You can't click through the full articles, but it gives plenty of stuff. Our World in Data, which, I was introduced to that. It was great. And then all of a sudden, all it was is mostly just hardcore left political commentary. So I just unsubscribed. Peter Diamandis talks about, he's like a futurist. Love it. Pirate Wires, that's just satire. I wouldn't listen to that. Risk Hedge is another investing one. Rob Crispin, you have to read. Scotsman Guide is super important. Short form has to do with book reviews. Simon Sinek, you guys know. Snacks is a great publication by Sherwood. And then Stay at Home Mom is really, you have to, I strongly suggest that's probably the best macroeconomic newsletter you can subscribe to. I do a bunch of Substack. I only, these are the authors I follow on Substack. Matt Taibbi is fantastic. No Opinion, who is an economist. I disagree with almost everything he says, but I like listening to what the other side says. Lenny's newsletter is probably one of the better ones on technology. Superhuman is the next category, is simply the best AI newsletter. It comes out every single day, bends my mind every single day. Synthetic is another AI newsletter. It's fantastic. The Daily Spark, who is written by Dr. Slock, that is probably one of the best economic newsletters you can read. The Free Press is just general news, which I just happen to like. The Garrett McAuley Report is mortgage. Visual Capitalist, which most of you guys get. UBS. Wolf Street is one of the best. But let's do this. Let's go to my top 10. And these are the ones that I think you should subscribe to. So if you're still listening, thank you. I'm sorry about running long. But you should subscribe. Number one, get Housing Wire. Just subscribe to Housing Wire. It's like $130 a year. If you're a mortgage or real estate professional and you want to be informed, subscribe to Housing Wire. I can't put it any simpler than that. Second, Inman News. I don't care if you're real estate or mortgage. If you simply read Housing Wire and Inman News every day, you would be a pretty well-informed loan officer or real estate agent. Now, it would take about 20 minutes a day to read all of their publications. About 20 minutes a day, maybe 30 on some days, but you'll be super well informed if you read those two. Next, add Wolf Street by Wolf Richter. It's kind of a macroeconomics, but he really makes easily digestible points, and he really simplifies it, and he uses common sense. Oftentimes, he's forecasting or he's editorializing in a completely different direction than the rest of the herd. That's why I really like it. Resi Club has been doing great data on mostly real estate. Mortgage News Daily, I love the format of that newsletter. They have they have their top 3 or 4 articles of the day, including at least one they write. Then they have the top podcasts, links to top podcasts. They have market news, like all the little graphs. What's the current market interest rates and how's the market doing? And then they have links to about 8 articles that they think are the most prescient of the day. Once again, honestly, if you read these top 5, read my top 5, if you read it every day, you would sound different. You would have a total different sound in how you're speaking and your scripts. You'd have your whole command and confidence would expand. I would include the Daily Spark from Torsten Slock, another economist. I'll tell you, while the industry economists, the real estate and mortgage industry economists, analysts have been telling you interest rates are going to drop for 2 years. He's been arguing why they weren't going to drop. He's been 100% right. The industry analysts we follow, economists, have been 100% wrong. I really respect what Dr. Torsten Slock puts out there. We already talked about the MBA. Whether you get the paid or free, it's well worth it. Superhuman, if you're going to read one, and you should if you're going to subscribe to one thing to learn about technology. If you want to really be well informed in AI, Superhuman is a must read, and it's fascinating. Mortgage Nuggets, I put this on here because you can read it in a minute. They usually highlight 3, 4, or 5 different key topics from recent articles. Then they put links to 4 others 3 times a week. If you didn't have any time and needed to boil it down, you could just do Mortgage News Daily and Mortgage Nuggets. And then 10 every Saturday, Thoughts from the Front Line come out. If you want a bigger picture, macro picture, something without a lot of political opinion, whatever John Malden thinks is the most pressing macroeconomic issue of the week, read that. If you read these 10 things, I guarantee you'll become a changed person. Now, this is just one type of content. So I think you also have to marry that with podcasts, and you have to marry it with books. You need to do all three. Of course, if we were talking about the whole thing, I'd say you'd have to watch MBS Highway every day. That is a non-negotiable. I would also say you have to watch at least one mortgage coach video a week, podcast a week. You have to be well informed. And Dave puts out a ton of content, so you can pick which one you like. But anyway, that's my reading list. I did do a post on this in case you're curious. I'm happy to share my total reading list. I'm happy to discuss this. I just really believe that, one, we charge a lot of money. A loan officer on average charges 100 basis points with an average loan amount of about $400,000. We charge $4,000, right? Our advice has to match what we charge. And in order to have great advice, we need to learn, we need to be knowledgeable, and we need to have wisdom. And then we need to apply it, which is critical. We apply it into a strategy, right, on how to best advise our clients, right, and how to best serve our clients. And that's one of the ways we sharpen the saw. And so I can only just invite everybody, start to build that habit. Get up an hour earlier, right? Get up an hour earlier every day and start consuming content. Now, I just want to say, I mentioned that, I'm not talking about books or podcasts on this list, but there are other great publications that I didn't have on my list that I subscribed to before and may or may not subscribe now. I mean, if you can afford American Banker and you want to really learn banking, subscribe to that. National Mortgage News, you can subscribe to that. The Basis Points is great. I can keep going on and on and on. There's just so much stuff. But for me, I'm at the max capacity right now on my content consumption. I'm already pressing against 3 hours a day. I wasn't able to consume my entire list. Now, I get up early so that I can consume content. It's also easy that I can listen to the audio versions because I have 2 hours of road work. So I'm knocking out two things at the same time, getting my exercise in, my cardio in, and I'm getting fed, which is super terrific, right? And just to let you know, when I listen to a podcast, what I do is I upload that podcast into GLASP, and then have GLASP convert it. Then I put that in up to GLASP. I get a transcript, and then I put the transcript into ChatGPT to give me a summary. Even though I listen to it, since I can't take notes, and I want to just have something to go reflect back on, I put it in ChatGPT, gives me a summary. So that's one of the ways I consume that content. And then the other thing is, what I didn't mention is at some point during the day, you need to make space to go, what did I learn today, and how can I apply it to what I do? And by the way, application might be, how do I post it? How do I distribute it? How do I share it? One of my habits, and if you know me, if you've been related to me in any way, if we work together, if we're friends, I send you articles, right? Because as I read 30, 40, 50 articles every morning, I go, oh, Bill would like that. I'm sending it to Bill. Oh, that's something Dave would really like. Or, oh, this is what Christy does. And I sent an article. I don't know if you've seen this, but I thought it might interest you. Have a great day. And so every day I'm sharing 3, 4, 5, 6 articles. Every day I'm posting online about the most important article or most interesting article I read. So I immediately apply what I've consumed that day into hopefully something useful. And which I'll end on this. So I encourage you. Just expand your content consumption. Just start doing it. Get up a little earlier, that type of thing. Now, I mentioned that I post, some sort of post referring to 1, 2, 3 articles or a topic. I do at least one every day. So if you're interested in that, follow me. Follow me on LinkedIn. If you want to see it in a video format like this, follow me on one of my social channels. I post my video on every channel. I could be a good source of news content for you. You can take my 3 hours every day that I boil down to usually, I don't run long today, 5 minutes online, and you will be up to date on the most important stuff. With that, guys, I really appreciate you spending some time with me. I appreciate your time. Now, I will just end with this, by the way. Here's the thing. Knowledge, all the things we learn and have, plus data, plus our life experience, our professional experience, create wisdom, right? So knowledge plus data plus experience equals wisdom, and wisdom is a true differentiator. Wisdom is something you can charge for. Wisdom is very hard for AI to replicate. So make sure you're doing your reading.